just as a quick heads up, there's a slight reverse in order. So today we're going to start off with this discussion about Ashoka University, and then following it, we'll have the panel on OpenAI and Claire from our team. So I'm going to do very quick introductions because we don't have that much time. Very quickly, with this, we have Dr. Pramath, as mentioned. We'll mostly be talking about your experience as a founder and trustee of Ashoka University, but I'd be remiss not to kind of highlight how much of a true pioneer in higher education in India Dr. Pramath is. This includes as a founder and chairman of Harappa Education, India's largest online institution focused on teaching habits and skills to the workplace success, being a founding dean and member of the executive board for the India Business School, which is a top 20 globally business school, and as co-founder of both the Vedika Scholars Program and Europa Fellowship, which create opportunities for career-oriented women and Himalayan entrepreneurship, respectively. And we'll also have Dr. Somak, who, first off, if nothing, is incredibly intimidating as a PhD in astrophysics, but I really want to highlight your career as an educator, and that included being a longtime teacher at the University of Brigham in the UK, helping to rebuild the Presidency College in Kolkata into Presidency University, and serving as director of the Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics before becoming Vice Chancellor of Ashoka. So thank you both for joining me on the stage today and sharing your... I'm going to start off with you, Dr. Pramath. We just kind of heard from Chris Howard how ASU tried to become, or is, rebuild the true new American university. And I think something very similar can be said about Ashoka University, similar ambitions to be a pioneer in this space. Can you talk to us a little bit about what spurred you to take that ambitious leap? And second, now that it's been, I think last May was your 10-year anniversary, what do you think you guys did really well in succeeding on that front?
Thank you. I think the journey at Ashoka is very much like the journey of many founders, some of who I see in the audience. I think we've all been the beneficiaries of the Indian education system and the higher education system, and we all feel grateful for what opportunities it created for us. At the same time, having been exposed to education in other parts of the world, we all feel that there is something that's very significant that's missing, and that we haven't kept up in terms of the quality that our students in India deserve, and the opportunities that they could have if high quality education was available here. So I think that was really the motivation to say, can we create something that's truly high quality in India? Not to rebuild, because that's too much to aspire to, but at least to build some lighthouse examples so that people can be, to show that it's possible and people can be inspired. And so that was really the motivation behind it. I think in 10 years, what went right was, I think a lot of people don't realize that one of the key things is the governance model. When founders set up universities, they obviously set it up as like a startup, and they want to run it as entrepreneurs do. Great universities don't get created that way. Solving for that is really the crux of the problem, because you're taking money from donors, a bit like investors, even though there is no return. And investors want to see things happen the way they would like to see it happen. So you have to get away from that investor mindset and get into a donor mindset, yet have people feel like they're really invested. So I think what we solve for both at ISB and at Ashoka is this model of collective philanthropy and shared governance. This is a very nuanced point, but nothing to do with academics in general, but more to do with institution building. I think it's not surprising that both these institutions have that core philosophy. And then, of course, it's a matter of solving for faculty. We have enough students, but the missing piece in the faculty, student, education, research, in that whole set of variables that have to come together, the big missing piece is faculty, and that's the only piece that is missing, not funding, not infrastructure, not regulation. And so if you solve for faculty, and we found innovative ways of solving for that over the years, you go all out and just solve for that one thing, that's when you start to get quality up. So I think the governance model and leaving no stone unturned to get high quality, best in class faculty back to India from outside and within India is really the crux of it.
So can you expand a little bit on how you solve that faculty problem?
Yeah, so in the interest of time, very quickly, the way we solve that faculty problem is that high quality faculty do both education and research, teaching and research. So in the initial years, we split, conceptually, we split teaching and research. Because you won't get high quality faculty to join a new university, especially a new university set up by a bunch of business guys who think they know education. So if you're a high quality academic like Shomak, you're very skeptical, you know, this guy, consultant, business guy, why would I join a university started by him? I'm very happy in my Cambridge or Oxford or Birmingham or Harvard. And he'll say, okay, you go ahead and start, and if you do well, I'll come. So then I'll get only those people who are skeptical and who are the next level in quality. And then once you start at next level quality, then the university you build or the institution you build is next level quality. I've often said quality doesn't scale, so then you get stuck at that quality. You'll never build a world-class university. So to get Shomak to buy into Ashoka, I tell him, hey, why don't you come as a visiting faculty for a few weeks? So ISB and Ashoka both had this initial program where people came and taught for 5 weeks.
No.
You don't need to leave where you are. Don't worry. Test us out. Let me prove to you that we are good enough for you.
Yeah.
And if you like us over time, then you can maybe move. And that model has really what has worked for the faculty. Once you then get a few handful of faculty, then that begets more good faculty. And then you can hold a high bar because the flexibility of getting visiting faculty allows you to have your own time in recruiting permanent research faculty. That's the crux of it.
I love the wedge approach, which we see very common also in other businesses. As the excellent faculty that has joined, and as you think, you know, you were talked about joining Ashoka 2 years ago, although long time involved. How do you think about the future of Ashoka and what it needs to get correct, particularly given the landscape of how much the, not just higher educational landscape is changing, but also the post-grad, right, the industry?
I see that they're related. Thanks very much. I mean, what Pramod said was about getting the right kind of faculty in a very international sense, which is people who do both research and teaching. But that's not the norm in India, though. I mean, I've worked both in federal universities as well as state universities in India, and even famous universities don't have most of their faculty doing active research. The researchers are segregated in research institutions. And so a lot of the undergraduates don't see active researchers going through Indian education. And that's very different from the rest of the world. And one of the things Ashoka from the very beginning and what we've been doing is to make sure that the research becomes part of not just the pedagogy, so the students experience research, but also the faculty themselves do research. And so this is when we got a bunch of those people together, there are two ways to go. One is to make sure that the university becomes truly interdisciplinary. And to do that, one needs to set up a system in which they talk freely with each other. And that's happening. I mean, that's where magic happens when somebody who does philosophy starts talking to somebody who does psychology, to somebody who does physics and mathematics, and find common ground. So that's happening, and that's wonderful to see, particularly in this day and age of new emergent priorities, AI and data sciences, also all the questions of ethics and historical context to do with medical innovation and scientific innovation. So all that brings in humanities, social sciences, and sciences together. And it creates new things, not just for people to do research on, but for students to worry about right from the beginning. And we're very keen, for example, somebody who does front-end, biology research, conveys that to first-year students, but the first-year students also learn the ethical issues associated with them, for example. And so that comes from various other departments. So that's one. And the second thing is then, in order to build the research infrastructure, one needs to bring together that environment where you have the postdoctoral fellows and the research students working in science, in the case of science, the labs, in the cases of places where one needs computing, the infrastructural facilities, put them all together. Now that has never happened in India in a context like this, and so that's a big challenge. And once you start doing this, of course, then there are many ways you can put the things together. I'll give an example. I mean, for example, we have one of the top history departments in the country. Some of the most important historians of ancient India, particularly archaeologists, work at Ashoka. They've been digging up places to do with the Indus Valley civilization, very close to Ashoka. And one finds remains of human bones and even food remains on these digs. Now we have the biology department doing a DNA analysis. We have the physics department doing radiocarbon dating. They're coming together to actually figure out what those things were, right? And that can only happen in the Indian context. Previous to this, it would go to a research institute that did just archaeology or just biology. You wouldn't have these people talking to each other. And now we have interdisciplinary centers of people who are working in a holistic way to find out what these sites do. And then people from the climate sciences are coming together to figure out what these sites tell us about the change of climate over the years, right, in the same site, and many others. So that's the kind of stuff that's happening. And we get students involved in this because there's quite a lot of space in there for even undergraduate students to get involved and not just learn the subject, but actually do the work.
I think the interdisciplinary approach is extremely, I think, critical as we think about the large problems that we're facing today globally. As a former operator and builder, I want to dig in and better understand. Is it literally just getting these people in the room together, or how do you help motivate that and facilitate, smooth that conversation between such different perspectives, right? How do you get them to collaborate?
Well, I mean, actually getting them into the room together and getting them to talk to each other is half the work. It's the hardest bit. From a physicist's point of view, these like charges repel. And so to get them together and have them really force them, coffee and pizza is often not enough. But it's not just to get them to talk, but get them to talk meaningfully, to talk about the issues that matter. So one of the things that we've planned for a long time in the future as well is to have 2-3-day meetings, 1-day meetings where people, talk about their perspectives, listen to other people, which is a very important thing to do, and then find common ground and have long periods of discussion where they can interact. So that's the thing that's happening. And having young people in the same room as the more experienced people is also a very important thing, because people then learn how to communicate what they're doing to each other, but also to younger people, and the younger people to learn. Often at professional conferences, that does not happen. A lot of the younger people, particularly undergraduate level people, don't attend conferences which discuss research, and so people can learn from each other, and then they can figure out how to get the general student population involved.
In the process of building, this is for both of you gentlemen, in the process of building such an innovative approach, there's always discussion, there's always debate, right? There's how do you do something wholly new, and there's various different perspectives. I'm curious, what has been or currently is the most hotly debated topic in your perspective within Ashoka?
And most people who are here and read the news would tell you that the most hotly debated topic is whether we should scan the luggage of our students when they come to campus. Often people get worried and call me up, and I tell them that 40 years ago when I went to my institution, I went on a hunger strike for 2 days because there were lizards in my food. So in some ways, even in the age of AI, education has not changed. Look, I think as a liberal arts university, we encourage our students to speak their minds. We also encourage our faculty to speak their minds. In the polarized world that we live today, particularly driven by social media, we get trolled either way. People take a position. We are in the news a lot because we are prominent, so newspapers like to write about us. Reporters are always hovering around Ashoka to figure out, just as they are around all celebrity and well-known institutions, we take it in some pride. But jokes apart, I do think that given the environment we are in, we also have to do whatever we can to make sure that the institution doesn't get hurt by whatever happens. We are very excited that we are building India's finest institution. We are very focused that we want to build India's finest institution. We do not want to get into politics, Indian politics or global politics. Politics is very much part of campus. We as institution builders don't want to get into politics. We want our students and our faculty to fight it out, and whether it's in protests or in social media. We want to maintain a fine line that we will do everything we can to take the institution forward and build India's finest university. That sometimes leads to conflict because people want us to take a position. And we will not do that because we care only about the university and we care about the happiness of our students and our faculty. So that's really the way we approach it. We are very clear about what we are doing and why we are doing it, and we want to stick to that.
Jennifer, I have a different answer to your question, and that is if you have an innovative space like Ashoka, where we say we want to build India's finest interdisciplinary university, liberal arts university, everybody who takes part in it, all the stakeholders, students, faculty, as well as founders, will have a different way of looking at it. They'll have a different definition of innovation, different definition of coming together. And one of the most interesting things, as I said, we've been doing is to bring research and teaching together, but also all these very disparate subjects together. So we have the sciences coming together with the core humanities in a way where, and social sciences, in a way where it hasn't happened before. And for example, with the data sciences, we have an all-enveloping sort of kind of activities going on where economists are working with sociologists, with physicists and astronomers, things like that. So using the same methods but in different contexts, sometimes in a holistic project where everything matters. And now we have a whole bunch of courses that on entrepreneurship and business that are emerging that people have interest in to help them, get jobs later on and to connect with the real world. And so when you look at this intersection of sciences, social sciences, humanities, and now, say, business and management sciences, finance, all that, people will see the interface in different ways. And that is one of the most hotly debated things, I think, on campus as to how to do it best, whether to stick to the real, deep disciplinary approach that some people like education to be, yeah. or how do you want to actually bring these disciplines together, and what are the priorities for the students to learn from this as they go through. We're now transitioning from a 3-year education to a 4-year undergraduate degree. So that also and together with the research towards the end of that degree. This is from India's new plan, of the new education plan. So that also brings in new opportunities, which brings in new debates between the academics who are involved in this. So from the inside, we have a lot to worry about, lot to do together. And I think Ashoka has more going on in terms of this kind of debate than many other places where things are more conventional.
Yeah, I think that's, it is, without, discussion always falls, right, when you're having and pushing forward, and I think that, I'm so curious as to what is really at the forefront of your guys' mind. We are running up on time, so I'll just ask one last question, which is, aside from being a lighthouse and an example upon which the rest of the Indian education system can build and gain best practices from, how else do you think about scaling access to this kind of top quality and finest education?
As far as access is concerned, we are very clear. I think high quality education is expensive. And if you want to create access, then you have to give scholarships and funding to students who can't afford it. So we've focused a lot on that. Most of our funding is philanthropic, and it's very much with the expressed understanding that we will not deny admission to any deserving student to Ashoka. So far, 20% of all our students get a free education at Ashoka. We have educated more than 2,000 students free at Ashoka in the first 10 years. We plan to continue to increase that. We see increasing philanthropy in India. So yeah, our mission is to provide a very high quality education, which costs money, but make sure that nobody suffers from the lack of the right economic background, very needs blind and full need based.
Wonderful. I think we're actually at time. I could ask you guys each at least 50 more questions, but appreciate so much sharing your experience, sharing the growth of Ashoka, and looking really forward to the continued success. Thank you both.
Thank you for having us. Thank you so much.